Yesterday, Jeremy Clarkson shut the farmer's dog. No notice, no website explanation, just closed doors at one of the most visited pubs in rural England on what should have been a fully booked Saturday. So naturally, the internet assumed the worst. The pub was failing. The experiment was over. The celebrity dream had collapsed. Clarkson had finally admitted defeat. Except that is not what happened. Not even close. The closure was for one day, and the reason was simple. Clarkson shut the place to throw his team a massive party. He said so publicly, and he called them a wonderful team who deserved it. That is the detail the headlines missed. A pub that can close for a day to celebrate its own staff is not the same thing as a pub in decline. And that is where the real story begins. Because the question is not whether the food side loses money. Clarkson already told us it does. The real question is how a place that supposedly loses money while fully booked still works so well. If you have ever read one headline and immediately thought, that does not sound right, this is that story. Clarkson gave the world the number everyone latched onto first. The farmer's dog made a pre-tax loss of a little over £8,000 in its first quarter. Every hospitality journalist in Britain ran with that figure. Clarkson's own line about turning £100 into about $94 became the headline version of the business. But that was never the whole business. The food side is expensive by design. The pub serves around 200 covers on a busy day, and every ingredient is British only. No Coca-Cola, no foreign ketchup, no imported coffee, no avocado. It sounds like a slogan until you see the cost of making it real. Food revenue on a strong week can reach about £4,000, but premium British ingredients and staff wages eat most of that. So yes, the food loses money. That is not the trick. That is the bait. Because the bar is where the real money starts. In its first year, the farmer's dog sold more than 500,000 pints of Hawkstone lager. At $6.50 a pint, that is £3.25 million in beer revenue from one location. And unlike a Tesco sale, where Clarkson only takes a wholesale cut, the pub changes the math completely. There, he is the wholesaler, the distributor, and the retailer at the same time. That means he keeps the full margin. At that scale, the beer is what turns the site from a curiosity into a machine. The food brings people in. The drink keeps them there. The footfall does the rest. And if you have ever wondered why people will drive for hours to sit in a countryside pub with a weeks-long waiting list, that is why. They are not just buying lunch. They are buying the experience, the story, and the feeling that they have found something real. Here is the part most coverage missed completely. The pub is only one piece of the site. Next to it is the Grand Tour tent, the marquee that used to travel with Clarkson's Amazon car show and now sits permanently in Oxfordshire. Around that tent are 3 more businesses: the Farmer's Puppy, an outdoor kitchen for people who cannot get a table in the main restaurant; Hops and Chops, the butcher shop; and the diddly squat farm shop outlet, which sells merchandise, Hawkstone products, and local produce. That changes everything. If someone cannot get into the pub, they can still spend money on site. If they eat British beef in the restaurant, they can buy it to take home from the butcher. If they want a shirt or a bottle of Hawkstone, they do not need another stop. The whole place is built to keep the customer on the property one step longer than they planned. That is not a pub model. That is a footfall model. And it is very hard for a big national chain to copy without tearing up its own identity to do it. The whole point of those chains is centralized sourcing and predictable scale. Clarkson built something that works precisely because it is stubbornly local. That is the irony. He made British-only sourcing the selling point, and the thing that sounds commercially awkward is what gives the place its edge. There is another layer to the story, though, and it is the one Clarkson almost certainly did not mean to make so revealing. In a recent interview, he said he was done with business, that he would not start another company, that he does not understand it, and is not motivated by money. That sounds like classic Clarkson, blunt, self-deprecating, and a little dismissive of his own competence. But look at what he built. He took a site that sat abandoned for over a decade and turned it into a destination that draws roughly 25,000 visitors a year. He employs 146 people. He created a system where the pub, the bar, the tent, the butcher, and the shop all feed each other. He built a place that can apparently afford to shut down for a staff party without breaking the story everyone thought they already understood. That is not a failing business. That is a business people misunderstood. And the funniest part is this. The closure that the internet treated like a death notice was actually proof that the machine is running well enough to pause. A loss-making pub does not throw a party for 146 staff after a heat wave, a planning battle, and a packed reopening. A working business does. So the next time someone says, the farmer's dog is just a pub losing money, remember the part that matters. The food is one part of the story. The bar is the engine. The tent is the multiplier. The butcher shop and farm shop are the capture. And Clarkson, whether he admits it or not, built the whole thing like someone who understands exactly how to turn a crowd into a system. That is why the closure mattered. Not because the pub failed, because it did not. If you went to the farmer's dog and had no idea the tent next door was a separate business, drop a comment and tell me where you are watching from, and tell me what we should investigate next.